Hi everyone, my name is Steph, this is the Novelty Corner, and this is the start of another reading vlog. I don't normally start these with all of the lights and all my makeup on because my vlogs are very low key, but I happen to be filming today and starting the reading vlog at the same time, so I thought I would do an actual proper introduction. So today's reading vlog is lovingly dubbed the Readathon or read along, and it is a bit of an in-jest sort of reading vlog because a little while ago Heather from Here Booktubes posted a video where she roasted the reading taste of some of her friends, including yours truly. I wasn't actually roasted because I was in her highest category of someone that she thought that she had similar reading tastes with, but there was a whole bunch of us in that video and it was really funny. And Heather's love language is roasting her friends, so it was not done with any mean intent. And then the follow-up to that video was a bunch of us getting together to do a live show in rebuttal of her video. And in that video, we came up with a potential idea of running a Heather Readathon. So this whole thing has kind of spiraled and none of it has been done with any ill intent towards anyone. It is honestly just a chance to have fun with our friends because we all know Heather. Heather knows us, and what we've really come to is, okay, well, Heather judged our reading tastes, so now we are going to see if her reading taste align with ours. And that means looking at her 5-star reads, or for some people looking at all of her star ratings and seeing how that aligns with their own judgment. So for this reading vlog, I'm planning on reading 5 books from Heather's Goodreads shelf. I decided to read 5 of her 5-star books and also 2 of her DNFs as a comparative. So I went opposite ends of the spectrum, but everyone's sort of doing their own sort of thing. Heather's 5-star reads that I have decided to pick up include Pulling Doubles by Christina C. Jones, Slow Burn by Kristen Ashley, and A Heart of Blood and Ashes by Miller Vane, which was already on my TBR but has now doubled as part of this challenge. And her DNFs include Sweethand by N.G. Peltier and also Demon King by Elizabeth Briggs. This one I know absolutely nothing about, so I'm going into that one completely blind. So stay tuned, I'll be talking about all of these books in this video, and I will leave all the links to both Heather's channel and all of the people who are also posting their HEA-Readathon videos today. Thank you, Heather, for inspiring so much of this, because without you we would not be here. Hey, same day, still haven't done any reading, but I'm going to start reading, what's it called? Oh my god, I've mentally forgotten what it's called. Pulling Doubles by Christina C. Jones. It is the second book in the Wright Brothers series. I have a feeling I said Getting Schooled earlier, which is the one that I've already read. I don't know where my brain is. Anyway, I'm going to read Pulling Doubles, which is doctor romance, I think, maybe? Don't know if you can hear that, but it's decided to start pouring down rain. But I just finished Pulling Doubles by Christina C. Jones and I really liked it. I'm not sure if I enjoyed it as much as Getting Schooled, which was the first book in the Wright Brothers series, but it was definitely enjoyable. So this one is about Devon, who is a nurse practitioner, and she's just started working at a hospital with Joseph Wright, who is the, I forgot what his title is, but anyway, he's in charge of everyone on the ward. And at the start, they're constantly at loggerheads with each other because he is just nitpicking at everything that she does, because he's a grown-ass man but he's still pretending like he's in middle school. Oh my gosh, look at me using all the US lingo. I've got to stop doing that. Anyway, eventually they, you know, have their moment in a storeroom in the hospital, and from there it's all about their relationship. And it turns out that Devon has an ex-boyfriend, Malcolm, who is a thing, and yeah, we don't like him. He's not good. He's very controlling. And he's trying to get her back and refuses to believe her when she says it's over, and he does some very medically unethical things because he's also a doctor. But yeah, I enjoyed this one. Another thing in the story is that the heroine is diabetic, which is one of the first times I've seen a diabetic heroine who's actually dealing with that in the book, which was really cool. I enjoyed this one, so Heather liked this one and I liked this one. I suppose that's a really good start to this vlog. Hi everyone, I'm about 5% of the way into The Slow Burn by Kristen Ashley, which is another one of Heather's 5-star books. Heather was one who actually got me onto this series, so as I said earlier, I think I've tried to pick things that were already on my TBR, so I'm very excited to read it. I do like Toby, and he's the brother of the hero from the first book. I just want to keep reading it, so I will update you soon. I meant to say, at the very beginning of the book, there is this scene where a very young Toby overhears a conversation on the phone, and it has to do with the fact that his mother left his father and the 2 kids and just disappeared and hasn't seen them for 8 years. And Toby is listening to one of his father's friends' wives who looks after him after school sometimes, and she's talking to someone and she just reveals how much she loves caring for these boys. Even though they're not her own, she is a huge part of their life, and he just hears how much she appreciates him. And it's just a gorgeous little scene and gives me so much faith in humanity, to be perfectly honest. Okay, so I've just finished the prologue, which is about 9% of the way into the book. And it's all sort of the history and lead up to when Toby first meets Addie, who is the heroine in the story, which actually took place in the first book, because there is a knockdown drag out scene outside the front of Johnny's house in the first book, where Addie's husband has come to try and get her to come back with their son, and she basically tears him a new one and informs him that she's started divorce proceedings and so on and so forth. And that's the first time that Toby sees her, or Tobias sees her. And it is such a good scene because she just rips this guy a new one, and it is amazing because he cheated on her. She walked in on him cheating on her, and she refuses to let him walk all over her anymore. And it's such a great scene, and that's where Tobias falls in love with her because she is just this amazing woman. This book is gonna make me cry, I'm pretty sure. Crap, told you it'd make me cry. Heather, how the hell did you read this book? You don't like emotions in your book. Oh gosh. This book is, I'm not even 30% of the way in and I'm crying, so who the hell knows how this is gonna go. So I just finished the slow burn and I loved it. And that was not something that was going to be a surprise because I really liked the first book and I like all the characters. But it is a really heart-eating, emotional book. And, you know, for a book where the couple gets together in the sort of the first quarter of the book, the rest of the book is really dealing with their pasts and their families, and both the hero and the heroine have parents who have passed and also parents who left when they were young. Or in the case of Addie's parents, her mother left her father because he was abusive. And you also have them coming face to face with the parents who they haven't seen since they were kids, and sort of the fallout of that. You know, it's all just gorgeously handled. And I was thinking about it while I was reading it. Tobias comes across as very overbearing and very dominant and very much, I have money, I will take care of you, which is possibly not something that everyone likes. And I mean, certainly for myself, that's not what I would want in a guy, but he sees that Addie is struggling, he loves her and he wants to take care of her, and he has the means to do that, and that's where a lot of that comes from. Plus it was the way that he was raised, to take care of the people that he loves. So it's that fine line between a character being really overbearing and domineering, but also doing it with the best intentions. So yeah, it's an interesting book, but the series is just gorgeous. And the last little page of the epilogue and the story of, you know, sort of how it all wraps up is just gorgeous. Yeah, it's a book that you just keep reading and going, which emotional curveball are you going to be thrown next? I will say there is a content warning in here for death of a very beloved character from cancer. And while I, you know, bawled my eyes out during that scene, which was not the scene I was crying at before, this was later on, it was still, you know, fantastic because it's a character who means so much to everyone. So yeah, it's a gorgeous book. I really do love this series. I think it's well worth checking out if you haven't, because it's two sisters falling in love with two brothers in a small town, and just these characters who love each other to no end. And part of it comes down to the fact that the characters value family, and they value found family, despite the fact that, you know, some of these characters have heaps of money. They understand the value of family being valuable. They understand that you can have everything while having nothing at the same time. But yeah, these characters also understand that you don't have to have money to have everything in life either. So it's gorgeous. Hi guys, so the next book that I'm reading is The Heart of Blood and Ashes by Mila Vane. I have started buddy reading this with Megan. She started a few hours before me, so I'm playing catch up. I'm just at the end of chapter 2, and oh my god, there are so many names. We're going to be super positive about this and keep going because my brain hurts. Hi guys, so I'm up to chapter 18 in Heart of Blood and Ashes, and I am really enjoying it. It's a bit dense for me, in terms of it being a fantasy book and that no longer being a genre that I naturally gravitate towards. Also, I'm reading this off the back of reading another fantasy book, so That was not necessarily a clever idea. But I love Yvonne, who knows how to say her name. Anyway, I love her. I love her a lot. She is amazing, and someone needs to slap Maddox over the head. Also, while all of you are going on and on about the bloody hand job, which, to be honest, maybe it's because everyone has talked about it, so I was expecting it, and it kind of felt like, yeah, it was there, but I don't know, I think I've read weirder things at this point in time. Why does no one content warning the fact that a horse dies? Guys, animal deaths need to be content warned in books. Just putting it out there. So I have finished Heart of Blood and Ashes, and I'll probably have more thoughts on it tomorrow. But I liked it. I didn't love it. And I think that's purely just because it is very fantasy heavy and possibly not quite as bonkers as I was expecting it to be. I really liked the last sort of quarter of the book, pretty much from the time where Yvonne and Maddox are at the, I can't remember the name of the town, but it's Cadis's town, and they're having dinner. And Yvonne is sparring with her brother across the table. Like from that scene onwards, I was thoroughly invested, but that was like a good 350, 400 pages into the book. So yeah, I think it's just me and fantasy, but I get why people like it. I think it's a very compelling fantasy adventure read. The romance is great in it. I still want to smack Maddox upside the head for, you know, 95% of the book. He got there in the end though. But yes, what I do like is how competent all the women are in the story, and that is amazing. So I will take it. So a good read, just not a favourite. And I'm not convinced I'm going to continue with the second book at this stage. Hi guys, so it's been a couple of days since I updated this, and yes, my hair is still wet. It's drying because I just redid the pink shampoo that has been colouring my hair. And I'm about to eat a sour Zupa Duper because I feel like it. I actually have no idea what this flavour is, so we'll find out when I start eating it. But I am going to start Sweethand now. So I'm now on to the books that Heather DNF'd to see what I think about them. All I know about this one is she had some issue with it because it was about baking. So a romance about baking, I can get behind that. So I look weird because I have these eye mask things that I've had for ages and have never used, but hey, why not just look ridiculous while filming a vlog? So I've started Sweethand. I am nearly 25% of the way through the book. I am enjoying it. It's probably not going to be one of my favourite books unless something dramatic happens, but it's definitely not something I'm going to DNF. It is about Charisse, I think, and Kieran, and they've known each other since they were teens, I think. Charisse's sister and Kieran's best friend are getting married, and they're going to be the maid of honour and best man respectively, but they've still got this ongoing feud. And Charisse is a pastry chef and is quite a famous one in Trinidad, and Kieran is having nothing of it. And one night he accidentally badmouths her to the press, and so the press have a field day with it, prompting sort of some minor revenge and also some need for apology. But pretty much mostly what this is doing is making me hungry. I just finished Sweethand. Look, it was cute. I think it probably went on for a little bit too long, and you know, the conflict was very predictable, like from the very start. Aside from that, it was a pretty decent contemporary read, so that's a successful read for me. I'll take it. Hi guys, so I'm about to start the last book for this vlog. It is, what is it called? Demon King by Elizabeth Briggs, which is the first book in the Claimed by Lucifer series. So Heather DNF'd this one. I know nothing about it, except that it's possibly paranormal, I'm assuming, and we're gonna figure out what it is. I think it's someone making a deal with the devil. So that sounds fun. I'm just gonna sit here and read and eat these, which I'm trying. I've never tried them before, and they're quite tasty and full of salt, so that's not good. So I will not eat the entire bag. That is my goal. So I will check in once I've started this book and know what's going on. Okay, so this is probably going to be terrible because Lucas Ifer, CEO of Abandoned Inc. But since that made me laugh for its kind of terribleness, I think I'm just going to keep reading. So another case of Steph should read synopsis of books before she goes into it. This is a Hades and Persephone retelling, which I kind of picked up on from the first page, but I just went back onto Goodreads and checked, and it kind of is. Okay, so I'm nearly 20% of the way in. The basic premise for the book is that Hannah, who is the Persephone character, is in Las Vegas because her best friend has gone missing, leaving behind a young son and a sick mother. And so she has come to a casino called the Celestial, which is owned by Lucas, who is the Lucifer / Hades character. Anyway, he's called the King or the Devil of Las Vegas, depending on who Hannah asks, but he is known for making deals and for being able to get anything that you need. So she goes to him to ask him to help her find her friend, because her friend also disappeared within his casino. And as payment, Hannah has to stay with him for 7 days. And he decides to theme the 7 days that they're together based on the 7 sins, which is actually kind of a cool concept. The cool thing is I've been to Las Vegas a couple of times, so in my head I sort of know the location, and yeah, it's not the greatest thing I've ever read so far, but you know, I'm still reading, so I'm gonna see what happens. Kind of interested to know whether or not they find her friend. So this book is going for a little bit of everything, because we have angels and demons. We have demon shifters who shift into animals. And so far we've had a fox and a cheetah and a dragon. So we've got dragons too. Incubi and succubi, fae. There's just a lot going on. So I finished Demon King and I'm not going to be continuing the series. Not because it was outright terrible. It wasn't terrible. It was just full of things when it probably should have stuck to what it was aiming for, which, you know, in theory, a Lucifer type story retelling of Hades and Persephone is actually quite a cool concept. Like, I actually would be really excited to read something that was perhaps a little bit more tightly written, whereas this shoved in a whole lot of extra stuff that, while it wasn't, I don't know what the right word is, wasn't necessarily explained over the top with too much detail, but that also doesn't work in its favor because it just feels like it's shoved in. So all of the stuff around all of the side sort of characters and things that's happening, and you know, the other demons trying to overthrow Lucifer and whatnot, like there's just a lot happening. Whereas I think if it had been a little bit more tightly plotted and we didn't have all of that extra stuff happening, or you pushed some of that out to later in the series, that would have been really good. So it felt like a lot. So I will compile all the stats, but I'll probably film a separate outro for this vlog and rank all the books and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I read my 5 books from Heather and it was fun to read some different things. Okay guys, it's time to wrap up this reading vlog. So we are back here in my formal filming setting because that just happens to be where I am. For this reading vlog, I read 5 books that Heather has either loved or DNF'd, and it equated to 1,768 pages or so. Honestly, I don't feel like there were a huge number of surprises in here for me, which is great. You guys know I had a video recently where I don't give my star ratings, but just for the sake of this video, of all of these books, there would have been one that I would have given 5 stars, in line with Heather's 5-star rating, and everything else is sort of lower than that. So in order of my least favorite to my favorite book from this vlog. My least favorite was Demon King by Elizabeth Briggs, which is the first book in the Claimed by Lucifer series. This was one of her DNFs. It was also the last book that I read, so you've probably heard me talk about it recently, but it is the story of Hannah and Lucifer. It is a reincarnation story that is also a Hades and Persephone retelling that also has a whole lot of stuff thrown in it. I enjoyed the concept, and I think that perhaps if the author had waited to bring in some of the elements that feel like they were just shoved in to make the story seem complex and interesting to later books, then possibly this would have worked a little bit better for me. Also, it sort of felt a little bit like those YA paranormal romances where everything just happens very conveniently rather than looking for a way to weave them into the story. So interesting concept. So it gets points for being interesting. It gets points for trying to do something different with a Hades and Persephone retelling and linking it into more sort of a biblical angels type thing. But I don't think it was necessarily well executed. I'm going to make a point here because Heather will kill me otherwise. There is a significant difference between Demon King and the next book that I'm going to talk about in terms of rating. So next on my list would be A Heart of Blood and Ashes by Mella Vane, which is much beloved. And I know why. I can understand from reading it why people love this book. The reason why I didn't love it so much is because it is very heavy on the fantasy. It is a fantasy romance, which is great if you love that. For me, the fantasy elements just took too long. There's a lot of politics that happens, and had I started this book from about here towards the end, I would have loved this book. But it just took a while, and at the moment I'm really not in the mood for slow-paced books, so that definitely had an impact on my reading experience. Also, thinking back on it, I think this book received so much hype, and all the things that people talked about in the story, things that seem that, you know, they're like, oh wow, it did this and this happened in the book. Either I was completely desensitized to them, or people had made such a big deal about it by the time I got to them in the book, I'm like, is that it? So I'm sorry, Heather, I know that you love this book. Please don't disown me, because this is just not a genre that I'm naturally going to gravitate towards. And I really went into it with high hopes, which is probably also an issue. I won't be continuing the series, but I'm definitely glad that I read it, because now I know what people are talking about. Then there is Sweethand by N.G. Peltier, which is Charisse and Kieran's story. This was a hate to love story between two people who have known each other for a while, and they have very strong misconceptions of one another. It was fine. It was sweet. There were things that I liked about it. Probably could have spent less time on the wedding, just for the sake of it. And I should say that Sweethand and Heart of Blood and Ashes sort of fall in line with one another, because they both had things that are not necessarily my taste, which affects sort of my rating and my ranking of them. Anyway, I'm glad that I read it, because I know a lot of people have really enjoyed this one. Perfectly fine book, just like A Heart of Blood and Ashes. Nothing overtly wrong with it, just not my particular taste. Next on my list is Pulling Doubles by Christina C. Jones, which is book 2 in the Wright Brothers series. I really enjoyed this one. I don't think I enjoyed it as much as the first book in the series, and I think I might have said that earlier in the vlog. It is about Devon, who is a nurse practitioner, and Joseph, who is a doctor, and they are forced to work together, and Joseph is really attracted to her, but he really doesn't want to be, and it causes problems. They also both have very crazy ex-partners who cause a lot of chaos in this, and it is predominantly set in a hospital, so be aware of that going into it. My favourite book from this reading vlog, which to be honest is not a surprise to me, is The Slow Burn by Kristen Ashley. This is a series that Heather got me started on, and I fell in love with the first book. Incidentally, all of those things that I said about slow books before, I'm going to have to make a point of commenting that this book is very much one of those slow-paced, slow release sort of stories that is just, it is a contemporary romance story between Tobias and single mum Addie, who has an infant child, Brooklyn, and Tobias has pretty much fallen head over heels for Addie, but is very reluctant to get involved with her because she has been through a traumatic experience, and so he takes on the role of protector without trying to progress the relationship, which causes a lot of conflict between the two of them. And Heather and I talked about this a lot after I finished reading the book. Addie is a character who believes that she has to be self-reliant, so she is struggling for money, and she's struggling to get enough food for herself to eat. She's always prioritizing her son. She's working a crappy job, and she's struggling to pay the mortgage on the place that she's staying in, but she doesn't tell anyone because, you know, asking for help would be seen as a weakness. And what she has is this memory of her mother who, you know, struggled to make ends meet, but always made life about her family and took care of her children and never made them feel like they were anything less than. Once Tobias figures out that Addie is in financial trouble, he steps in because he has money to spare and he doesn't want her to go without. And she finds that really frustrating, and he finds it really frustrating that she won't accept help. So that's the only thing I'll say about this book, is if you have issues with a character who won't accept help, then the first part of this book is going to be a little bit tricky, because Addie is very, very reluctant to accept any help. However, their arc and the way that they get to a point of mutual respect, and she realizes that he's not trying to buy her affection, he's genuinely concerned about her health, and he wants to make sure that she and her son have everything that they need so that they can thrive, because he has the ability to give them that. That part of it I kind of liked, because he genuinely isn't asking for anything in exchange for the money. He wants them to be comfortable and he wants them to be safe. You really feel for Tobias because you see both sides of their story, and we do see how that they can find common ground in the middle. So I really love this. All right, so those are all the books that I read for the HEA read along. For the genres that we have in common, I can pretty much know that Heather and I have similar tastes. When our genres diverge, that's where we don't necessarily always agree. And that's totally fine, because we don't all have to like the same genres of books. Heather, thank you for lots and lots of recommendations that I have enjoyed, and even the ones that I didn't enjoy as much as you, they were still a great reading experience. Everyone, definitely go and check out Heather's channel. If you haven't, I will leave all of her details linked down below. In the comments, I would love to hear if you have read any of these books, or if you're planning on picking any of them up. If you want to let me know that you're here but you don't want to leave a comment, feel free to leave some flame emojis down in the comments. Otherwise, I hope that wherever you are in the world, you're staying safe and healthy, and I will see you in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye everyone.